Am I able to introduce a word?
If you got one, I hope it's not the word I have, but go for it.
It has nothing to do with the topic, so probably not.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So I'm a school teacher, so I'm around middle schoolers. The word is skibbity.
Oh.
I've heard this word, and I do not know it.
I've actually watched all the videos.
Yeah, it's horrifying. It's paired with
horrifying.
skibbity toilet usually, or
Yeah,
some people might say that's so skibbity. Now, introducing a word probably involves knowing the word. I know that it comes from a dumb video that they've watched that I think includes sticking out my gyat for the Rizzler. I get asked if I'm the Rizzler a lot. I'm like, yeah. It drives me absolutely bonkers, and I've banned all of my students from saying it. And if someone new says it, I give them the stinkest look.
Do you think I could ban it in my library too?
Yes, I think you could ban it. Put it like a sign. This is no skibbity.
No skibbity. No toilet. We'll take the bathroom out.
You can start singing no diggity and just say no skibbity.
Yeah, that'll resonate with the 13-year-olds.
They're going to get it.
They'll know it. Everyone knows Nate Dogg. I hope Nate Dogg's in that song and I didn't just blow it.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Emily Moyers and Kyle Imperator take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. I'm Emily Moyers.
And I'm Kyle Imperator.
And today we are joined by special guest Alex Corigliano. Alex is currently a special education teacher in upstate New York. He is also the co-host of the Mets Legends Cast, a fan-made baseball podcast focused on the Mets and their unsung heroes. The show celebrates players such as Lastings Milledge and Ruben Gotay, as well as many others whose stars simply burned too bright. Alex, it is great to have you on.
Ruben Gotay.
Gotay?
He had a very brief stint, and he infamously hit a foul ball off of his genitalia. And they said, "Ruben, what did that foul ball hit you?" He just literally just says, "My dick," and then everyone laughs, and they go, "Okay." And that's Ruben Gotay's story.
Honestly, I wanted to hear about Lastings Milledge, which is the craziest name I've ever heard.
Also a real man's name.
We love him. We love him. We call him Blastings Thrillage. He came up in 2006. He was a top regarded prospect who, when he hit his first major league home run, he went around dapping up the crowd, like up to the stands and was doing that. And people were furious at him because it is an old-timey sport. He didn't last very long, and it was eventually included in a trade to the Pirates, where his star flamed out.
There we go.
Sad.
As so often happens.
Sad.
As so often happens.
Yeah, except for when you become a Buccaneer type pirate, that's usually when your star starts to burn brightly. But in this sense, it was the opposite.
I hope that's like the second life for some of these major leaguers. Just become pirates.
I don't know. You got to travel out into the middle of, out to Madagascar maybe and see what they're doing in the rivers there.
I won't be, because the open ocean scares me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying thought.
Yeah, I don't know what's down there.
Well, Alex, besides, we've gotten something that scares you, and we know that skibbity may scare you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite word?
I have two favorites. One is egregious. My friend Max Narodsky, shout out Max, once referred to something as egregious, just like in common speak. And I have already known the word, but I was so impressed. I don't know. It made me laugh. And so now I always think about it, and I try to teach my kids it. And my second favorite word is kumquat.
Do you have to say it like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to say kumquat. Why is it your favorite?
It's just a silly sounding word. I don't want to get into it. It's just a silly sounding word.
Have you ever had a kumquat?
No. No.
Do you think that'll ruin your opinion of kumquats?
Have you had kumquats?
No. I haven't, because I'm afraid. I don't want to ruin the reception.
It's like you don't want to meet your heroes. Like, I'm just afraid.
Yeah. I got a good thing going.
Honestly, like now with a lot of like fresh fruit, when I eat it, I get like that like fuzzy feeling in my mouth. And so I would hate
that means you're allergic though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get like my whole mouth like puffs up and I can't breathe. Yeah, Yeah, so I don't do it as much anymore.
Get the fruit rabies.
Well, listen, we've got some great words going already, but today I have chosen a word specifically with our guest in mind, who's coming from a baseball background. It may be one that you, Alex, have heard, maybe not. Either way, I'm hoping to teach you and Kyle and our audience a little more about it. Are you ready for your word?
I'm ready.
Absolutely.
All right. The word this week is fungo. Fungo. Fungo.
Fungo.
Alex, have you, don't say the answer yet, but have you heard this word?
I've heard the word and I know what it's typically paired with in terms of like its use. I have no idea where the words come from, and I've wondered about that a lot.
Beautiful.
Boy, fungo. Is it an adjective?
It is not. It is most often a noun. Very
Most
occasionally a
often
verb.
You can fungo. You have fun
Someone
gone.
can fungo. Yep.
In the past tense. I mean, the language of origin, it's got to be just like from a bunch of English words, right? Is it like a portmanteau?
We'll talk about it. About it.
We
don't know for
Kyle.
sure is the short
I said
answer.
you could ask all the normal questions, but I'm not going to give you normal answers.
I do have a clue if you'd like it, Kyle.
Yeah, please. I need the clue.
The clue I have is pop.
Pop! As in corn? As in a fly ball? As in goes the weasel? Oh, soda!
You think I picked a word that means soda?
I'm just trying to think of baseball things, you know? There'd be popcorn, there'd be soda.
Sure. Central tenets of baseball. Popcorn and soda.
I mean, yeah, give me some Cracker Jacks, you know? Give me some... yeah. Okay, fungo. A fungo is... Ready for this?
Yeah.
A fungo is a fly ball, okay, that is caught by a clown on the field.
Alex, what do you think? How did he do?
It's close.
Oh,
It's close.
The
You
clown
started
part,
well.
right?
You started well.
What do you think, Alex?
Well, before I even get into it, what made you go to pop fly?
It's just what came to... Well, she said pop, and I thought pop,
Right, okay,
fly.
duh, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about
I don't
that
have a
hint.
huge baseball background, but, you know, my family, you know, watches baseball, so...
So I know a fungo bat is one that is typically used in practice.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's different about how it's built that makes it more ideal for hitting like pop flies in practice, but that's what you would use it for, is to hit easier pop flies to the players in the field for practice. Famously, and by famously I mean I'm still irritated about it, I used to coach the varsity team in the school I used to teach at. Terrible time, awful, would not recommend it. And we did not have a fungo bat. So it was a lot of like me hitting fly balls and sometimes missing and just being like, just cursing under my breath.
Alex, you are spot on. A fungo bat is a bat for hitting fungos, and a fungo on its own is a fly ball batted as part of a practice drill for fielders to practice catching fly balls. And there are some extended definitions and phrases like fungo bat that we'll get into later.
Okay.
But first, let's begin at the beginning, guys. Baseball,
Start.
the great American pastime. What
No
could
one
be
else
has
has it, except for Japan.
Japan
Sure.
is good.
Yeah, Japan is good, yeah.
What do you guys know about the origins of baseball?
I know a decent amount. I've been to
Yeah.
the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think it has its origins in upstate New York as like a game where people played it. I know it's like comes from cricket, or probably like from people who played cricket and then tried to play like here. That part is fuzzy to me. But I know like Doubleday was the person who kind of like made the first league. The field upstate in Cooperstown is named for Doubleday. This is like mid to late 1800s, probably like 1860s time.
Yeah, I am so happy that everything you just mentioned, because we're going to talk about all of it. So, in all likelihood, it did evolve from an English game called Rounders. There were a lot of games like, you know, a lot of like bat and ball type games, cricket. Stool ball is a game very similar to cricket. Both.
I don't like stool ball.
I don't like the way
It
that
just
sounds
sounds
at
like,
all.
what is
I don't like the way
that ball
that
made of?
Check the bats.
Yeah, it's like similar to cricket, but instead of like the wickets that they have in cricket, it was like the seat of a stool hanging from a post.
Let me tell you, I think the Mets are playing stool ball right now.
Hey, Got him. But a lot of those games involve the batters running back and forth between 2 points, between 2 wickets or 2 stools. But in Rounders, which was another game, these are all go back to around the 1500s in England. Rounders, the batter scored by completing a circuit around 4 bases. Sounds familiar.
Rounding the bases.
That's right. And by the 1700s, Rounders was a very popular children's pastime, as evidenced by its depiction in a 1744 book titled A Little Pretty Pocketbook, intended for the amusement of Little Master Tommy and Pretty Miss Polly.
Is that the full title, or you said the title? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it goes on. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast. A lot of old books have titles that run down the entire page.
So they're just like pop punk albums.
Yes. Yeah. It's like a Fall Out Boy song. Yeah. So quick aside about this book. It's considered one of the earliest children's books ever. And it was sold, I guess, to market it to children. It was sold with either a ball for boys or, of course, a pincushion for girls.
Appropriately.
It's the ball for girls.
Same level of fun in either direction.
I'm confused. Did they at checkout be like, are you a boy or are you a girl?
Yeah, at checkout. And they have to like check your ID for alcohol. They check your ID for gender to see what toy you get.
It's either the distant past or a horribly dystopian future.
But the book shows a woodcut printed illustration that is thought to be depicting a game of Rounders.
Oh, wow.
They're kind of standing near like these big like stone columns. I think they might have been playing in like a cemetery. I don't know. But I guess those were like the bases that you'd have to touch. And beneath it, there's a little poem titled Baseball, hyphenated, which reads, quote, "The ball once struck, away flies the boy to the next destined post, and then home with joy." Which is a delightful way to explain baseball.
Honestly, we gotta put that to a song and get a organ behind it. I think we could get a chant started.
Wurlitzer on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'll notice below that is another little poem titled Moral, which says, "Thus Britons for lucre, which is money, fly over the main, but with pleasure transported, return back again." So I guess that's the secret moral of baseball. That we never learned is that it's all about imperialism and money.
You know what? It still is. They famously have baseball academies in all of these Latin American countries, very prominent in like the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and Venezuela. And even though in the United States, you could get drafted out of high school, like as a senior, but you get expected to complete your senior year. And then some guys might forego that and then go to college, and they could be drafted out of college still, or they could report straight to, like have a little signing bonus and then play for like the minor league affiliates. Whereas in these Latin American countries, they could sign you as young as 16. And a lot of these players already have under the table deals at 13 even. Like there was news a few months ago about the Mets already have an agreement with someone who's a highly regarded prospect. And even though he cannot legally be posted and signed until like next year. And there's also the Dodgers have opened up an academy in, I think, Uganda. So this is like, yeah.
So yeah, imperialism is the moral of baseball.
Yeah, wow.
God, they got it right in 1744. They
it is America's pastime. Wow.
That's it. Yeah. So as mentioned in that lovely poem, the Brits did fly over the Main to their colonies in what is now America, and they brought games like Rounders with them. And time went by, and baseball became known as a quintessentially American sport. And by the mid to late 1800s, Americans did not like the idea that their great pastime came from Brits.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
So, Alex, you mentioned Doubleday, and you mentioned he set up the first baseball league or game.
I want to take a crack at his first name. I think it's Nelson Doubleday.
It is Abner.
Nelson is way off. There's probably a Nelson somewhere in that family. Nelson.
Sure. Yeah.
Abner.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call him Abner. I'm not doing that. That's a pig in hair, Arnold. I'm not doing that.
It is a pig in hair.
Well, Alex, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to burst your bubble again. The Abner story is widely regarded to be a myth.
Wow.
What do I know? Is its origins
so
the Pretty Little Pocketbook?
The Pretty Pocketbook?
Yeah. He's in the second moral.
The second moral is Doubleday is a lie. So in 1905, in response to growing disputes over whether baseball was from England or strictly American in origin, Albert Spalding of sports equipment fame, along with the National League of Professional Baseball Clubs, launched an investigation into the origins of baseball. They made like a committee.
Wow.
We need to figure out this.
We can't let the Europeans win again.
Yeah. Baseball explorers and
they got a letter from a mining engineer named Abner Graves. Unfortunately, there's another Abner in the mix. Graves said that he had seen Civil War Union Major General Abner Doubleday, a real man, draw a diagram of a baseball field. Graves said Doubleday set up the first ever baseball game in Cooperstown, New York in 1839, and Graves gave like a full description of that game in his letter. The story was publicly supported by both Spalding and the National League. Loads of people thought it was true for a long time. Apparently, it still persists.
what kind of committee is this? That they were just like, this letter says it all. I don't know, this Abner guy sounds pretty accurate to me.
Spalding wrote back to Abner Graves and said, hey, do you have like proof? And he said, here's the diagram. I don't have the original, but I redrew it. Here you go.
And they were just like, checks out.
They were like, it's pretty good. He was like, I would ask you to go talk to the players, but I think they're all dead. So you can't ask them.
It's fair. I mean, why would he lie about people being dead?
And it was so accepted that, Alex, as you mentioned, there is a Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, as is the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, because they thought that Doubleday invented baseball there.
I'm going to go spray paint frauds all over the place. I'm going to tear that city down.
Yeah, because here's the thing, you guys. In 1839, when this supposedly happened, Abner Graves was 5 years old. We have no evidence besides his baby boy memory.
That kid knew what he was doing.
He was like, I remember it clear as day. Right after I got out of kindergarten, Doubleday invented baseball.
He picked up a crayon, he held it with his whole hand, and just scribbled a diamond.
And it's also like people knew Doubleday. He was a Union general. He never talked about baseball, and one of his obituaries said he showed no interest in outdoor sports.
Why did this 5-year-old just know about
He was
this
probably into the pincushions.
general? Yeah.
Yeah, he got a pincushion from the book. So that's the real and apocryphal origins of baseball.
So we never discovered whether or not it's American or British, is what you're saying.
No, they made up a story and ran with it.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, Alex? I feel like I've shaken everything that was holy for you.
One of my first thoughts was, I miss the days when you could just say things and people said, yep, fine, but that's still happening.
Yeah, Graves made like a post on Reddit and it caught on. And they said, it's the gospel truth.
You know what? I'm over baseball.
That's it. I've made Alex cancel his podcast.
Oh my gosh.
But now, hey, listen, let's get down to it. Let's get down to Fungo. That's what we're here to talk about.
Fungo. How did we go
Fungo.
from Doubleday to Fungo?
So, speaking as someone who has never watched a baseball game in my life, I would love to know, Alex, is this a common word in baseball? How have you heard Fungo get used?
You're only gonna know if you've played like Little League or like beyond, really, and like in a league that knows what it's doing or has a lot of passionate dads. That's really like going to be that's really going to be your only introduction into it.
So, as I alluded earlier, it has a lot of different meanings. The sort of basic usage, I think, is a fungo can mean the fly ball itself as it pertains to this practice drill. To fungo can mean to hit the fly ball or to take part in that drill. And then, as you said, Alex, a fungo bat is a type of bat used for hitting fungos. You asked earlier what made it different. I think it is longer and thinner and lighter than a regular bat.
Probably. I know like in like regular leagues, usually the only legal bats to use are like a drop 3. So pretty much its weight could be only up to 3 ounces fewer than its length. So like a typical one might be like 34-inch bat. That's 31 ounces. And so a fungo one might be like that big, but dumb light.
Lighter.
Yeah.
And the bat can also be apparently called a fungo stick or just a fungo. So that word first appears in writing in Henry Chadwick's 1867 Baseball Player's Book of Reference. Baseball, 2 words. Chadwick was, in the mid to late 1800s, the writer on baseball. He was the guy. He was an Englishman who grew up playing rounders and came to America during the rise and standardizing of baseball. Didn't buy that Doubleday myth for a second. He was like, absolutely not. It was a British game. But this book of reference was like one of the first published rule books for baseball.
Wait, and so this book of reference you said from the 1860s?
1867.
Okay,
yeah.
I originally heard 1967. I was like, wow, that's later than I thought. Wow.
No. 1867. It had loads of like rules and guidelines for the umpire and also a number of baseball terms and their definitions, one of which is, quote, Fungos, a preliminary practice game in which one player takes the bat and tossing the ball up, hits it as it falls, and if the ball is caught in the field on the fly, the player catching it takes the bat. It is useless for practice in batting, but good for taking fly balls.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's used for, throwing it up in the air and hitting it. That's your only use of it. You will not use it in batting practice. It's to help people practice fielding fly balls. Oh, wow.
Where did he get that name from?
Yeah, this 150 years. I would have never guessed that name was that old.
And he's just so cavalierly saying, "Oh well, fungos."
Well, he's defining the term in his baseball dictionary, and he has it there as plural fungos, Fungoes, and based on that quote, it's possible that fungos was coined first in plural, referring to that practice game. And either it was originally intended to be plural of a singular fungo, or people just assumed it was plural and backformed that singular fungo. Sure. But that leads to the question that we keep asking, where does this word come from?
Is it just fun and go?
That's one of the theories, Kyle. There are a lot of different speculations on this. We don't really know for sure. Lucky for me, a bunch of these theories have been very beautifully laid out by Paul Dixon in his 1989 Dixon Baseball Dictionary and the 1999 New Dixon Baseball Dictionary. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
One theory is that fungo is in fact a compound word. Dixon cites references to street games where one child would bat fungos to the others, and if you caught a certain number of them, you became the new batter. And apparently the games would involve some kind of like chant or call or something akin to 1 go, 2 goes, fun goes. I don't really know in what context. Yeah. But like street games are weird. They've all got these weird like cult-like chants.
Yeah, it's true. What do you say when you're doing hopscotch? Isn't there something that you say?
Oh, I don't know.
And maybe I'm just making that up. Never mind. There's no hopscotch chant. I've never done it.
Kyle used to speak in tongues when he played.
Yes.
He would crawl through it like the girl from the
like
Ring.
on his back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dixon also cites a couple references to this kind of batting and catching being a fun go as opposed to a serious go. As in the phrase, like to have a go at.
Oh, like it's just for funsies, you know?
Like, before the real game, we're going to go do some fun goes.
That makes sense. That's fun.
Yeah, checks out.
There's a bunch more theories, but the other one that I wanted to mention specifically is that fungo might have derived from fungus.
That's terrible.
Which is crazy.
No.
Dixon cites a few possible reasons, all of them relating to the bat itself. One quote describes the wood of the fungo bat as spongier and softer. One says the sound of the bat hitting the ball sounds like fungus would. I don't know how they would already have a metric for what fungus hitting a baseball sounds like, but they did. And then another says that the fungo bats look and feel mushroom-like.
Mushroom-like? No.
Like the feel of it, I guess, was like soft and...
You said fungus wood before? Like that's just a term that they used?
Like, yeah, fungus wood.
All of these were from like various like letters that people have sent in to newspapers. Like, here's what I think about fungo.
Were they all Smurfs?
People have also speculated that fungo could have come from a Scots word for throw, a Germanic word for catch, the English word fungible, which you might recognize from NFT, non-fungible token.
Non-fungo token.
Recognize, not be able to describe a fungo token.
Fungo token.
Fungible, it means like able to be changed out seamlessly. I don't really get, I think because you would like change out the regular bat for a fungo bat.
Sounds like a stretch.
Or change out the batter, right? Because
for the
they
catcher,
said, because whoever caught it then goes up.
The unfortunate truth is we will just never know for sure.
This is going to eat at me.
Yeah, I think you'll get to the bottom of it.
I'm going to be like my next time I'm at a baseball practice and people using fungo. I mean, actually they were using...
Other phrases using fungo, just to kind of expand the usage here. Alex, have you ever heard the phrase fungo hit or fungo hitter?
No.
It can also mean a fly ball or a pop fly. Okay. And then a fungo hitter is a batter with a reputation for fungo hits. A fungo circle, you ever heard that one?
No.
That's okay. These are weird terms. It's the two circles of dirt on either side of home plate. They are often used by coaches during practice to bat fungos from. So they're called fungo circles.
Okay.
My favorite one, though, is fungo bazooka. It's just a pitching machine. It's a machine that fires balls like out into the outfield for fielders to practice catching them.
I was really hoping it was just like a fun bazooka used in the military just for practice. Just for practice.
Practice bazooka.
Just for practice. Yeah. We're just gonna do some fun ones, you guys. In an actual game, fungo can also mean a scratch hit or a ball that's very easy to catch. The Dixon Dictionary mentions situations where a batter might do this on purpose, I think to like lead fielders in a certain direction so somebody else can run. I don't know if that makes any sense, Alex.
That's a bunt. The most typical one is the sacrifice bunt, which is you lay the bat out. Instead of swinging it, some batters may intentionally just show bunt from the very beginning, or some might try to look like they're batting, and then they just kind of hold it out like that, and so that you could square up the bat with the ball and try to angle it towards a certain direction. And since you're not swinging it, you're not putting extra force into it, and you're hoping to put it right into the ground, into an area where people aren't. And you're okay in that scenario where if it gets fielded cleanly to get yourself out, because you'd still be advancing the runner. There's also drag bunts where you'd see that from a speedster, someone who's really fast. Ichiro Suzuki was very good at drag bunts. So he'd almost already be running and kind of angle the bat towards it. The ball is dead. It's on the ground, and he's already taken off and is at first. And then I guess the third one, which was used very recently actually, is a suicide bunt, or I guess usually they'd call it a suicide squeeze, but usually that would be someone's on third. You want to get them home to score the run, and they try to do a squeeze bunt to, as a surprise to get it out there and bring the runner home. You bring the catcher forward or anybody in.
That's super fun. I love all of those terms that you just threw out. So according to Dixon, at least, fungo can also be used in that context of batting out a scratch hit that lets you maybe just barely get to home plate, but lets something else happen to get you points.
A tiger maul someone on the field.
Yeah. If you really want to let that tiger do what he's doing. Dixon also cites fungo being used to mean a skinny player on the opposing team who might elicit the question, who dressed the fungo? I assume that came from Rosie O'Donnell in League of Their Own.
Not the character, just her.
No, her.
Referring to Madonna on set. Hey, who dressed the fungo? That's my Rose O'Donnell impression, I guess. I love her.
Honestly, it's fine. Yeah, it's good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And he also writes that fungo has been used more generally to mean, quote, the act of striking or clubbing with a bat or stick. And he cites a quote using the phrase to hit a few fungos, but I think meaning to beat people up with a bat.
Oh,
yeah, people.
Oh my.
I've never heard it used in the context of fungoing seals. So I don't know.
Not yet. You got to keep your ears open.
That's right.
It's only a fungo if it's a practice swing with a seal.
Yeah.
You guys, that's what I have on fungo.
Great word.
That's great, Em. Yeah.
I've been wondering all day what word you would use. At the last minute, I thought maybe you'd go with shag or something.
I don't even know that one.
I've only heard it in the context of shagging fly balls. And that's when someone's shagging fly balls, they're just practicing in the outfield catching fly balls, and it could be anyone. Mariano Rivera famously tore his Achilles shagging fly balls when he was like already like 40 or something with the Yankees.
I'm pretty sure the phrase shagging fly balls comes from the Austin Powers series.
1000%. Well, Alex, I hope I've educated you about fungo correctly. Do you think you could try to use this word in a sentence for us?
Hey, I want to go over to the field and hit some fungos.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
You even did a voice. Kyle, you never give me a character voice when you do it.
It's true, I never do, because I'm always so worried about trying to come up with a sentence.
Do you two want to play a game real quick?
Let's play a game.
Yeah, let's play a game.
Play some fungos.
All right. So the game I have today is called Ballpark Figure of Speech.
So good.
I was very proud of that.
I like it.
So, of course, we get tons of idioms from the world of baseball. You can probably think of a dozen related to ballparks or bases or things like that. Who cares about those? I'm looking to uncover the ones that you might not know are from baseball.
Okay.
So the way this game is going to work, I am going to describe the origin of a certain turn or phrase, and you guys are going to guess what the phrase is.
I love it.
Sounds awesome.
Are you ready for the first one?
Yes.
Dating back at least as far as the 1870s and pioneered in professional baseball by the St. Louis Brown Stockings, a spectator received this thing if a game was canceled due to inclement weather.
Received?
Yep, they got a thing. If it started raining, they had to go home. They got a thing on the way out. And this is a phrase that we still use.
Is it a rain check?
It is!
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so they got money?
No. Check was like a slip that said you can come back another day and go to another game because you didn't get to go to this one. Yeah.
Wow.
A rain check. Yes. Abner Powell, yes, another Abner, improved this system in 1889. That's Abner number 3 today, folks. He improved this rain check system in 1889 by making the rain check a ticket stub on your ticket that you buy to make sure that no one who didn't buy a ticket got a rain check. Because there would be people like jumping over the fence and getting a rain check for a game they didn't pay for.
Sure.
And Powell is thus sometimes falsely credited with inventing rain checks, but they predate him. So that first one goes to Kyle. Second one. This term originated in a nautical context, referring to sailors who were actively working at hand for duty. In baseball, it came to describe players preparing for their turn to bat.
I have a few things playing around in my head. I hear in the hole.
Really close. Who's ahead of the guy in the hole?
Alex, what are you doing?
If you're next up, what are you?
On deck. There it is.
Yeah,
On
you
deck.
got it.
Oh.
Yep. So the player who is on deck is next up to bat, and people use it outside of a baseball context to just mean next up. I've heard it in a D&D context. If your turn is next in combat, you're on deck.
You're on deck.
And in line after the batter on deck is the batter in the hole, which is possibly a parallel to sailors being in the hold as opposed to on deck. We're not sure.
Or for the ships that had giant bottomless chasms.
Yeah. Or the ships that had a hole in them and were sinking.
Yeah.
The ones that led straight to Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, he's in the hole.
All right. So you guys are tied. This is a tie-break question right here. This is my last one.
Wow.
The first written appearance of this verb is in a New York World article from 1898, which quoted an agitated baseball spectator heckling player Jack Doyle to stop playing to the bleachers. What is this verb?
Jack Doyle is a great baseball name.
Yes. I think
It
Wikipedia said he was like the first professional Irish baseball player or of Irish descent. Don't quote me on that.
Was that 1975?
After Irish integration.
Do we have a hint, Em?
Well, the playing to the bleachers is the operative thing here. It relates to the place where the audience sits at a baseball game, a term.
Oh, is it the peanut gallery?
That's good, but it's not the answer I was looking for.
Dang.
That's really good because that's where they'd be eating peanuts.
Yeah.
Right?
I wonder I'm going to look up where peanut gallery comes from.
Yeah, now that I wonder.
Peanut gallery comes from vaudeville.
Okay.
Kyle, what's your guess?
Is it grandstanding?
It is grandstanding. Yep. Another term for the bleachers is the grandstand.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So he just yelled that?
Yeah, he was like, quit grandstanding.
And we know that it was this guy?
He definitely went back to the bleachers going, I'm going to write that one down.
So that was quoted in a very disparaging summary of a recent New York Giants game when the New York Giants was a baseball team. The journalist described the game as, quote, solemn and ludicrous. Smallness of the crowd and spectators' comments, features of the game.
Oh, man. Sounds like
He said the only good moment was when that guy said grandstanding.
Good thing the Mets filled in the space left by the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Someone had
New York's
to. They're
always
big
had a
shoes.
crap team. I have one more small fun fact as a prize for you guys. A Charlie horse also, it doesn't like relate to baseball, but it was first coined by two baseball players in the 1880s. And the two baseball players' names were Joe Quest and Jack Glasscock. Jack Glasscock, nicknamed Pebbly Jack.
What is going on here? Also, great baseball nickname.
Why was he nicknamed Pebbly Jack? Was it because he had kidney stones?
Yeah, based on how he was talking about
Jack.
Charlie horses.
I have a fun baseball fact.
Good. Yeah, close us out with a baseball
Please,
fact.
yeah.
So Dusty Baker, who is also a great baseball name, recently retired baseball manager. He managed 5 baseball teams, all of them made the playoffs at one point, got to the World Series with the Giants in 2002 when he was managing them, and they lost to the Angels, and he got his first World Series win in 2022 with the Astros when he was managing the Astros, and then retired the next year. So baseball legend, going to be future Hall of Famers, like top 10 wins of all time. Dusty Baker is credited with inventing the high five.
What?
Kyle said,
wow.
I don't believe it.
A double take.
I could believe that comes from baseball. It's just
I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
it's a good celebratory thing.
And it's like one of those things where you just like kind of assume like, oh, this has probably just been around forever.
Yeah, like since the dawn of mankind, people were on.
It's like,
Yeah, that was like in 2001 in that scene with the apes. They high-fived.
yeah. they knocked each other's brains out with like the stick and then high-fived.
The two of them high-fived.
Fungos and high fives. That's what Good Afternoon was. Alex, thank you so much for being here today and for helping us out with this word. Would you mind letting the people know where to find you and what you're up to?
This was so much fun. You could find me across platforms. I'm at Seltzer_Poppy and also Mets Legends. At Mets Legends on Twitter. I think it's Mets Legends Cast on Instagram. It's a lot of fun. We mostly just tweet out like memes and get angry about about the Mets. Right now, our pinned tweet is just like a photoshopped picture of Logan Paul that is misidentified as current Met center fielder Harrison Bader, and it's a lot of fun. and we haven't released content in a while. It's hard when your team is a sad and solemn place.
Solemn and ludicrous.
Solemn and ludicrous. Oh gosh, that's so good. But we will be recording again soon.
Nice. Well, everybody be sure to check out the Mets Legends Cast, and remember that you can find Butter No Parsnips on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Butter No Parsnips Podcast and on TikTok at Butter No Parsnips. And if you liked today's episode, consider giving us a 5-star rating or review wherever you heard us.
And if you really like today's episode, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more earns you a shout out either on social media or here on the podcast.
Thanks so much to all of you. You help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Kyle Imperator.
And I've been Emily Moyers, and you've been
Alex Corigliano.
And this has been Butter No Parsnips.
Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Glicksman, Kyle Imperator, and myself, Emily Moyers. The main and accompanying themes were composed by Kyle Imperator.